Hello, everybody, and welcome to 2026 and the new season of the Bulletproof Marketer. I am your host, Christopher Tompkins, and I am very pleased to be speaking with you today on one of the topics that I think we are all either thinking about, dancing around, feeling guilty that we're not completely set up for, which is what is our plan for the new year? So, I'm going to be telling you some of my hot tips to get you sorted out and ready and making you feel a little bit more sane in your planning. So, stay tuned for my hot tips there to get you basically just really focused and ready to attack 2026 on all cylinders. If you are new to the show, hey, thanks for joining me. But I also want to point you to our channel so you can pick up our podcast and subscribe anywhere that you get your podcasts. There's tons of episodes that I have filmed over the many years that we've been doing this podcast. I think we're in our 12th year or so. So lots of really great information, some terrific guests in the past as well. If you're really looking to make an impact in 2026 with your company and your marketing strategy, please check out the tips that we have in those past episodes. You can check out the videos on YouTube, listen to us on Spotify, on Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. All right. Also, if you need any digital marketing support or help, please go to gosalesandmarketing.com. That's my agency's website. We're the Go Agency. We've been around for over 16 years, offering digital marketing strategies to B2B companies, B2C companies, and everything in between. So we're available for campaigns and consulting with yours truly, if you'd like. So you can check out there. But also, there we have a really great AI guide that's free. You can sign up for that, and that's a really great resource to get you using AI in a more real way. Also, we have a newsletter sign up. So if you sign up, you get our bi-weekly Bulletproof Marketer email blasts that have tons of information that is curated specifically for you. Me and my team are looking at the new trends, the news that you need to be informed about, and we put that together and we curate that for you twice per week. So you want to check that out for sure. It's a really great resource. So sign that up on the website. Information's in the description of this podcast that you're listening to or watching right now. So check that out. All right, that's it for business. Let's talk about you in 2026. So, if you've been listening to me for a while and following our podcast and what we do, we're all about trying to break down the BS in the marketing world. And one thing that's not BS, and something that I see every single year that drives me absolutely crazy, are people that are planning for the new year in the new year. I'm hitting the table that I'm talking to you on because it really pisses me off. And the reason why is because it sets you up to be constantly chasing and being behind. So you're not leading or just walking into your plans and executing them. You are planning for what your plans should be while you're under a time crunch. So let me tell you something about planning under a really constricted time frame. Okay. So if you're planning for 2026 at the end of January, God bless you, because that's a hard thing to do. Right? You're already in the year. Everyone's full of piss and vinegar in terms of your sales function of your organization because we got to get sales. This is a new year. We're going to really attack things the right way. And then you over there in marketing are like, oh, okay, what am I going to do? I've been so busy and I was off for weeks, and that weird week in between Christmas and New Year's really threw me. And I hate to say it, but boo-hoo, no one feels bad for you. And as a marketer, you should understand that by now. We're not the people that are always looked at as the North Star in an organization. We're the support that kind of supports sales and lifts things up. But imagine if you were able to come up with a plan that you could present to a team that made sense in advance of it being February the next year. Now, this is something that I've seen marketers run up against when there are lots of changes within an organization, whether it be to the C-suite or to maybe new services and things that are being brought on. It's a new marketer that's been brought into an organization in the fourth quarter that needs to plan really quickly for the upcoming year. Or maybe it's just because you can't get the ear of your CEO to approve your plans. So let me give you a really quick kind of insight. Now, this, for many of you, you already know, because what do we know about marketing? As marketers, We understand what we do is very important because it does create lift, interest, visibility, engagement, credibility, as well as generating MQLs, marketing qualified leads, for the sales team to turn into SQLs, sales qualified leads, right? Not talking down, getting us all on the same page, right? So we all know that this is what we're doing. But what we tend to do is we're creatives and we do work off of data. And some of us don't. We work off of gut feelings, which is cute, but data's better. But not looking down on anybody that does that. Here's the thing. We tend to think of what's best in our idealized marketing world based off of what we understand in our experience. But then what happens is we're not always the best at translating our plans to get the ear of the people that are going to be making decisions of approval, budget release, etc. So one of the things I do feel is a stumbling block for us as marketers is making our big concepts that we're super excited about land with C-suite that need to either enact it or approve it or allow budget to be released towards it. So one of the things I would say as a really hot tip to getting things together, because I'm sure some of you out there like, I put ideas together. I've done roadmaps for my CEO 100 times and he ignores them every single time. Let me tell you something. It is time for you to look at yourself because you are not effectively marketing your own marketing skills. I know, what does that mean? Why am I talking to you guys like this? I am because if a CEO is transparently ignoring you, you are not making a case that resonates with what is most important for them. And in order for them to listen to you or understand exactly what is the key that unlocks that plan, so the CEO goes, aha, you put what's most important to the CEO in your plan and you lead with that. You call the meeting around planning and say, hey, I know that we're trying to increase sales by 40%. I want to increase our MQLs by 60% so that we have enough people to fill in the pipeline. And I have some really specific ideas around that. Can we carve out 30 minutes where I can show you those items? And that's how you start. What you don't do is say, hey, CEO who's really busy and is interviewing new people to fill roles and is moving and shaking and acquisitions and blah, blah, blah. Why don't I get you for a 45-minute to an hour meeting where I discuss every single element of my friggin' year-long marketing strategy? Honestly, ready to like walk the plank and jump out the window, right? When they see that, because they don't want to listen to that long of a presentation. So what you should do is just bite size it so that you can start getting some buy-in and then you can lead to maybe a slightly longer meeting, but never go through your whole strategy in one meeting with the CEO. You want to talk about what's most important that you're doing that's going to be tied directly to their objectives for the year. And this is how you should focus your marketing message to anybody that is a decision maker that you need to have some sort of buy-in. If you're going to another country and they are speaking a different language, do you force them to speak English? Or do you try to acclimate and try to show respect by showing them what's most important to them, which is their language and their own culture, rather than going, I'm an American and I can do whatever I want? That doesn't get you very far. But if you acquiesce and you start having the people understand that you're showing respect, meaning what's most important to them, culturally speaking in this case, they will have more engagement with you. Does this work every single time? No. Same thing as it doesn't work every single time with a CEO. Sometimes CEOs are just completely cut off. But your job as a marketer is not only just to create marketing strategies for the company, but to market those strategies to the company that you are working with or for. So it just doesn't come up that you're writing a whole annual plan and then expecting everybody to fall over themselves to get into it. You should understand that part of your role is to get people engaged with it. Okay. So that's like a big hit, right? Because if you're able to get through to your CEO, that removes one of your barriers to entry. Now, another thing that you might be thinking is, okay, it's already the end of January. I'm just going to go with the flow and just roll it out. What I would say is, no, you need a plan because you have a budget that you need to work with and you know that there's going to be eventualities that are going to pop up. So even if your C-suite is very confident that the numbers are all great and nothing is going to happen, nobody understands what will happen in the world. Maybe one of the main key clients, maybe the founder dies and the company needs to be sold and a private equity firm buys it and then shoots everything to shit and you lose the contract. But you were weighing on everything being so perfect, so why would you worry about filling a pipeline? So there are things like that we need to see as marketers ahead of time. The goal, I would say, with any marketing strategy, no matter when you do it, is that you're constantly filling the pipeline with visibility, with thought leadership, with engagement, and with lead generation. So if you are looking at all three of those things, they can jockey for importance, right? But the drumbeat always needs to hit each one of those tenets. So now we're in January and we're thinking, okay, it might be just too late. Where do you start? Oh my God, I don't have enough time to look through all the conferences that I have to get our CEO at. And how am I going to pitch them? And are they going to be willing? And I have to look at their schedule. Good. Those are all the reasons why not. So why don't you just keep going the way that you are and just be uncertain all the time? And guess how long that's going to last? Because suddenly, when you're not doing your job, everyone's interested in marketing. Watch it. Watch my words. You think that no one cares. If you stop being effective, they're going to care. They're going to see the dip. They're going to experience it. And even if you don't have weekly check ins with your C suite or your team that you're working with, they are going to feel it. And guess who will get blamed first for anything that happens in the sales department or any dip that marketing can be tied to any which way? You're getting blamed. You're getting thrown right under the bus, and you're the reason why. And who will do that? Anybody that can. And this is not me being catastrophic. People do not understand marketing like we do as marketers, right? So if they think that everything that we're doing behind the scenes, we're like the Wizard of Oz, right? We're behind the curtain and we're making everything happen. If that's what they're thinking, anything that's negative is probably attributed to us. So is that them being idiots or jerks or shifting blame? Sometimes, but not all the time. That's why I'm saying it's really good to get buy-in with everybody so everybody understands how it works together. Is everybody going to be on board? No. But if you at least have key people that are understanding what's going on, you're going to get more success in terms of conversion. Because how many times have you given leads to a salesperson and they didn't call them? Or they said, these aren't qualified, forget it. Why even give me these? And then you're like, what am I going to do? Are you asking why they're not qualified? And if they're not giving you an answer, are you going to their superior and asking them? Are you asking the head of sales or whatever it is in your company why that lead isn't good enough? Are you getting FaceTime as to getting feedback onto why? Or are you just accepting that you are going to be treated as a junior? You're always going to be treated as subservient. And that's not how you want to be because your goal is to make people successful. I always lead very optimistically and say, tell me how I can better target. If these are wrong, can you tell me exactly why? And if they can't tell me why, or if they start pushing back and being funny, I go to the person that they directly report to and ask the same question. Hey, I know that Kenny's in the weeds and I haven't been able to really dig in here. He hasn't had time to give me feedback, but we got this lead and he said it's not qualified. And I just want to make sure that I understand exactly how to do that. That's totally acceptable. That's not you calling defeat. That's not you throwing Kenny under the bus. Position them as very busy and you're helping out. And you will get further by asking the right questions. Because everyone's saying, I want analytics, I want reports, I want this, we need these statistics and these analytics. And people want leads that they can close. And if you're providing numbers that you're reporting on that are not getting closed and sales is poo-pooing them, that number means nothing. So you can be really sitting in your success that I'm getting all these leads. And then sales is just basically going. So what happens when someone reads that report? They're like, oh, good. You have a ton of marketing leads and they're all garbage and no one cares about them because we're not making any more sales. So that number must be garbage. I'm not paying attention to that. And then you condition people to ignore your reports. Again, this is 2026 planning. So maybe one of the plans that you can make for yourself is to find out how to create better leads for your salespeople or build more alignment with what they are doing and how they're reaching out so you can support them. That's one of the ways, like going back to what I originally said, with being able to market your own marketing plan and finding out what the truth is. Because, of course, I can do sentiment analysis. I can look at what's going on online. I can do competitive modeling. I can come up with different avatars. I can provide those avatars. I can do one sheets. I can do this. I can do that. But what is moving the needle? And that's where you really need to focus your efforts. Now, if you're monitoring every single thing and you're looking at all these stats, are you drawing conclusions? Are you questioning the stats? Are you conversing with your team about what you're coming up with? I'm saying all of these things to you to give you a bit of a wake up call that sometimes marketing planning involves you interfacing with other people and understanding what their motivations are and what their plans are so you can align them. Now, I've talked to many marketing people over my many years in this industry, and I understand sometimes it is down to leadership's lack of activity. Leadership still doesn't have their plan ready and they're still putting together their financial plan. So I don't know how to really align that. Again, sorry, I call bullshit on that. They are going to come up with their plan. And guess what their plan is going to be? This is going to be our financial goal. This is going to be maybe our service number goal or products we have to sell. They're going to have very specific things around that. That is information that you can plug in to an existing marketing strategy that you've created. You don't need to get that to create because you are present in this organization for the whole previous year or the year that you should be doing the plan in for the next one. So you can very easily look through and see how things are going and come up with ideas of where you can add some more zip, where you can connect things, not by painting them together or papering over the cracks, but creating solutions to some of the problems that maybe sales have. Maybe your CEO has. Maybe you have an event that was unsuccessful that you want to do again, but you want to enhance the success rate of it and conversions. You do not need a plan to do that. Okay. Maybe budgetary, you might have some issues there, but why would you not have everything ready to go? So as soon as that's released to you, you can say, hey, I have some concerns about the budget. I want to talk to you immediately about because we have a couple things lined up that I think might be beyond. Boom, looks like you're proactive, looks like you're on top of it, and you are. Because if your CEO gives you your plan, or even better, if they do the plan and don't let you know, and you find out from secondhand knowledge that the plan is done and you get the information, and you're at December 28th, you're hosed. You know what I mean? If you're just starting to plan, because you're not going to start planning until January. And then when you get back in January, everybody is renewed and revived, and everyone's coming out of the woodwork with some sort of request for marketing. Not a great planning month. This is an action month. So, this is why you get sucked into the second half of January and early February to come up with your strategy. Next time around, build your strategy around where you feel the problems are in the business. Maybe reach out to those people that are in charge of those elements and ask them what the problem is. That way, you can reinforce what your plans are. And then when someone questions you, you can tell them where it came from. Okay? So now we're already here, right? There's no, all the stuff that you telling me, Chris, is really great, but I'm screwed. It's like mid-January going into February. I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. Where do I start? Always start with what is bringing revenue to the company and how you can support it. So I would get the year or a little time on your calendar and don't make it seem like it's a big heavy lift. Make sure it's a nice howdy doody chat with either your CEO or the person that's a sales manager, whoever you have a better relationship with or who's more available. You want to get their ear and find out what their strategy is. Are there goals for the salespeople that you can be let in on? Is there any new strategic efforts that they're going to be using for partnerships or to increase referrals or upsells to clients or what have you? These are all things that you really need to know about. Once you understand what that is, I build a first quarter of a campaign focused on that. And that would be what I would consider as low hanging fruit because you're looking at an active funnel as opposed to an absolutely cold thing that you're going, a campaign that you're just going to put out to build interest. Now, I think that's a really good spot to start with, and then team that with a thought leadership campaign that you can execute on whatever social media is relevant to the company type that you have. If it's maybe a service-based company, maybe it's something for LinkedIn. If it's e-commerce, maybe it's TikTok and Instagram. depending on where you need to be. But you should definitely build some thought leadership and some sort of presence that you can build visibility and engagement through. That really will pay off dividends as you move that campaign to the next level. But that's something that you can start and you can go off of existing themes. So you don't have to come up with a whole new strategy. What's my angle for February? Just come up with something that worked before. And what I suggest is the greatest hits tour. Okay, so this is a really great way. This is total, okay. This is the top secret thing that you can definitely do, marketers. Not necessarily top secret, but something that we do forget. What I like to do is go through the last year of content on whatever social media platforms and including email, what we've put out, and I pull the top 20 pieces of content from each channel. Email, you might have to pull less depending on the consistency of your sending. But what I would say is that there's all the contents there and you should have metrics. If you don't have metrics, you have to use the metrics. If you don't have a tool, rather, I should say, you should have a tool that you can go in and look at all your metrics in one spot. If you don't, go natively to the platform and then pull back through the last year and see what was the most successful, what got the most amount of reactions, comments, shares, what got the most number of engagement. And that is where I would start. Now, here's the beauty. Everything that happened on social media is forgotten within a matter of moments. So it's not, oh, I wrote this beautiful novel and I put it out and I'm going to do a book tour for 2 years. No, it's a social media post. It's like blink and you missed it. So the people that are engaging with it because other people have engaged with it, which is pushing it up in the algorithm and serving it to more people in your audience. Good. We want that type of content. So if this worked, I look through that list of content for each channel and I see if it's evergreen or relevant to right now. And if it's evergreen, I can use it as is with little edits. If it's not, I adjust it to fit the period that I'm going to post it in. And then you have proven content that you can trot out very easily as part of your content campaign that would build visibility and engagement and allow you enough time to come up with your big idea. So, generally speaking, I think that if you're a marketer and you're looking at upcoming campaigns, events are something that do come up. Generally, it's a little bit light at the beginning of the year, which is giving you reprieve. But if you do know that there's events coming up in March or April, March forward, then maybe start your campaigns around when the event, maybe like the 30 days before the event happens, so you can build up to it, etc., based off of filling all the gaps with this existing high performing content or emails or whatever that you've put out. One of the things to be very careful of in terms of your marketing bandwidth is requests from sales that are based around materials. I know a lot of people like, yeah, I need fresher materials. I need something fresh. What does that mean? Honestly, what does that mean? And I think that what I would suggest that you do is quantify why it is necessary. I'm leaning on this point right now because I know that in the new year, a lot of people do request upgraded or revised materials. What I want to know is why the hell isn't the old stuff working? It could be pictures. It could be an old, maybe there's a member of the team that we're using on some one sheets that is no longer there, or we're no longer saying this, we're saying this. That's totally easy. Got it. I'll make that edit for you. But I just need like a fresher one. Like, I don't know. I just don't feel like this is really working. I don't go on gut feelings. I go on fact as a marketer. So if your gut feeling is that your one sheet isn't working, can you ask somebody why they don't like it or why it isn't effective? Because I need to know how I can make things better. I need to know how I can fix things. People, if you're being asked to do this, question it not because you're trying to say, I know better. No, you want to know why. Because if you know why, it's easy to fix. But come on, how easy is it when someone says, I just need a fresh version? It's just like, I need something with a little bit more zing. So I changed this and then everything else looks different. So I have to change all the one sheets. Oh my God. And then I'm going to be doing that for weeks and I have to plan for 2026 and I have to, yeah, stop doing that. Don't action anything until you have all of the information you need and then move fast. That's how I like to do it. I like to spend time gathering the right information and quickly produce. Because It shows that you're trying to help, you're listening, and then look, I can give this to you really fast when you're very direct for me. So it's almost like a reward for being open, having open communication with me. So it's a really great tactic because it breeds a lot of trust. And also, I want to open up to you because look, you gave me exactly what I needed and you asked me the right questions. Now, this is operating off the basis that you do have a rapport with other people in the company that you can ask questions to. Because as marketers, we need to be scrappy and we also need to be self starters. So, self starters means that we have to hold other people accountable, even if it's not comfortable to us. Now, holding people accountable is not, hey, CEO, where the hell is my edits? I asked for this 3 days ago. Where the hell? You're holding me up. Like, obviously, you can't do that, right? So, you have to hold the CEO accountable in other ways that are gentler, saying, hey, just wanted to remind you on Friday, we're going to have to go through that content for February. If you want to just grab a call and we can go through it together so I can make the edits and save you some time, that's cool. Offer other ways of slicing it up so that the person that you're waiting for can give you the information that you need to move forward. But overloading anybody in any channel isn't going to work. And then saying, hey, deadline's approaching. What's going on? That's not a super great thing to do. So these are some of the most prevalent problems that I see in being able to get ahead in a year. Make this pact with yourself that this is the last year that you wait until January to really allow yourself to get thrown under the bus by whatever force is keeping you from getting that plan together. Because if you start off the month, I'm telling you from experience, right? I'm being tough with you guys about this because this is the truth. If you are starting to create your plan or finalize it or getting approval in January, you're behind and you're going to feel behind for a while. And then it's going to make you feel a little crazy and it's going to stress you out. And that's not how you want to start a new year. You want to start a new year executing your strategy and then adding some new things and changing some stuff. Marketing is like cooking. You're constantly flavoring and tasting and changing and tasting and changing. Don't make it baking where you have to be absolutely exact to every damn thing. How is that going to work for you? You're going to be stuck. Now, I understand that many of you out there have tons of layers of red tape that you have to go through and you have to get approval. It's like a multi layer approval. Take what I've said and then build the time that's necessary into it because you understand what sort of review process that you have or your information mining process or whatever. So I just urge you to make a pact with yourself that in the fourth quarter of this year, you will create the full strategy that supports what you feel are the most important elements of the company and to meet the company goals, assuming based off of what the goals are this year, that they're going to be very similar, just enhanced for next year. That is how it goes because companies want to continue to grow. So whatever the baseline is, they're just going to add on whatever percentage it is based on the amount of sales. But you know that you're going to be increasing things. So that's the one thing. Second thing, if your plan's not approved and you're falling behind, use best performing content from the previous year and update it. Then you'll enjoy a little bit of a bump because it's going to be new to you content because everyone's probably forgotten that it even existed. So you can rest assured that you have some good content that you don't have to spend a whole lot of time with. Maybe update some visuals if you want, but don't go too hard into it. So then you're carried over so you can put your strategy together. And if you do not have a really easy flow in terms of approval or time to get with the people that need to approve, you want to make sure that you have an annual strategy that you present quarterly. If you have a CEO that you're, and I'm just assuming that you are a senior marketing person that is going to the CEO for finals approvals. If that is the case and your CEO is busy or uninterested or aloof, having a full strategy that you can pull out and present at any time is solid for your own sanity. And then do a quarter by quarter approach with a presentation to them. Many CEOs can't see the 12-month run up because they're looking at what's happening within the next 72 hours in their own lives. That's how it is. It happens to me sometimes when I'm running my agency. Sometimes I have blinders on and I can only see what's happening within the next couple days. So if someone goes, "Hey, here's all the content that I did for June. I think this is going to be a great summer campaign," and you're talking to me in January about it, you're not relevant right now. So you're not high on my priority list. Because what you can do is if you're doing quarter by quarter, you can maybe learn some of the things that you can put into your next quarter campaign. So quarter by quarter sometimes is a really good strategy to help you get alignment. Also, I think it's a very good idea to present this to the people that are going to benefit from it. So if you're doing anything that has a direct benefit to whoever in the organization, you need to clue them in on what the plan is. What does that mean? If you have an event and you have the CEO speaking and maybe one of your head of deliveries or you have the COO speaking at an event, then they need to be there when you present the marketing campaign around those events so they understand what you're doing. That just helps create communication to make everyone understand what the results are and the efforts that are going into it, the expense, that type of thing. So that's another really good tip to just take it piece by piece. One of the things that I always love is habit stacking. And I'm a big fan of Atomic Habits, that book by James Clear. If you haven't read it, it's definitely something that I would pick up because it's easy to read, easy to understand, and it works really well. And just start creating habits for yourself around some of these things that I've mentioned to you. And then when you find that there's other pieces that you can add to it that will help maybe create a stronger campaign, maybe you're opening lines of communication with people that you should regularly meet with, start stacking those habits on top so you can build consistency in how you're communicating your work with the team. And then the team can give you a flow back of what's actually happening with it. And that real data is really important because sometimes you're not going to be in the room where it happens. Most of the time, you are not going to be in the room that happens. And people are talking about you when you're not there. So it's good to have relationships with everybody that is in the room and can feed you feedback from those meetings that will help you become stronger and more connected. And that is the goal for marketing not to be floating away and then a big wave comes and it pushes it back to shore and everyone's interested for a minute and then it starts floating out again. No, you need to be right there all the time, right in the conversation, because everything that's going on in that organization is feedback that you can be putting into some sort of campaign or effort that will help sales, will help the company, will help the CEO, will help whoever you're focusing on. All right. So, moral of the story is that if you're planning right now, not ideal, absolutely not ideal, but it's not hopeless. There's ways around it. And use the tips that I've shared with you during this podcast and see how this can help you kind of get back on track. And by all means, please don't do this again. Make sure that you have a jump on things. Now, one last piece of advice. If you are going to take my advice and you're going to get a jump on things, do not present the next year's marketing plan to the CEO in October. Don't present it super early if their planning is always late. Just because they are going to feel like I feel when someone says, "Hey, this is what we're thinking for summer 2026," and it's January. I'm not, okay, what is it? Yeah, sounds great. Cool, let's do it. And then it gets to be summer, and I'm like, no, why are we doing this? I don't like this. It needs to be relevant to the person that's going to be making the informed decision. So just make sure that you don't overwork the dough and you're able to find out the right place to hit them. What I would say is the right place to hit them is before November 15th. I generally think the first part of November is a really great time to present plans for the first quarter of the upcoming year, and also for you to have your whole strategy written out that you can then edit in December. So you can have the call with the person that needs to approve that first quarter plan, take that, make the changes that you need to, and start making plans on how you can execute from the second of the month in January. I really hope that this helps you, everybody. I've been seeing a lot of this lately. That's why it's like a hot point for me because January is a big time of turmoil and there's a lot of frantic energy in January. And I know companies that I work with where the frantic energy is one thing. And I know the people that have that frantic energy, it sometimes stymies their growth and kind of gets them starting off to a sluggish start. So sometimes the results can't be reaped until well into the second quarter. Then I work with other companies and definitely the companies that I'm consulting with and doing fractional CMO work. We're good to go. We're running. We're already creating referrals and we're creating partnerships in the second week of January. And that's because we've had these kind of conversations beforehand. And I've challenged people to be engaged with what we're doing. And I'm telling you, it works. So, as a marketer, the one thing that you need to learn to market more than the company services, products, or even the C suite is yourself and your plans and why they are important and how they are going to help everybody meet their goals. So, those are my words of wisdom, my friends. Hope this was helpful. I have to be rough with you sometimes because I do feel that having that wake up call and that voice of someone that's on the inside, I'm on the inside. I'm the marketing person for many of my clients. And I see how every different kind of company is from franchises to government organizations to international organizations, global, whatever, or even local. There's all kind of the same stuff. So start learning the language, start getting involved in the conversations, be interested, and be helpful. As soon as you start taking orders, you become an order taker and you start fulfilling other people's orders. Be a visionary and really focus on what your skill set is and help the people around you. It's that easy. It sounds easy, but it's hard sometimes. Not lying. But hey, this is me, Christopher Tompkins with the Bulletproof Marketer. I really hope you've enjoyed our session today talking about 2026 and how you can jumpstart your planning and maybe set up yourself more successful for the year ahead of us in 2027. It's not crazy thinking about these years. Wow. Anyway, I hope everybody out there is ready for a killer year. And I want you to really sit in your power and really help people understand what you are doing and how you're making a difference and how you are willing to help as much as you can in meeting those goals. And I know that you're going to be successful. All right, folks. Again, if you want to engage with me in any way, please, the link to my LinkedIn is in the description of the show. Connect with me. I love networking and hearing people's stories and stuff. I don't know. I'm a problem solver and I like people. So there you go. So please connect with me. Also, you can read our blogs, sign up for the newsletter, get the free AI ebook, and subscribe to the show. So those are pretty easy asks, a lot of them, but why not? And please join us on the next episode. We have a lot of really great shows in this season that I can't wait to jump into. So I will check you out on the next episode of The Bulletproof Marketer. Till next time, folks, take care.